同志们，同志们，我们伟大来的，我们是中国现在 China Now. With your host, Nansu. He, the senior investigative reporter for Epoch Times, and Michael Olson, longtime observer of China, who once actually dreamed in Chinese of going there, but was dissuaded from doing so by Chairman Mao himself. Mao Zedong.
If you did that, if you have done that, you just have sent yourself to big jail.
Yeah, I'm afraid they would have chopped me up and parted me out. They probably could have got $50 for my thumb or something like that. I don't know. I would not have lasted long in a totalitarian dictatorship, Nansu, because I am a contrarian. If everybody's on the north side of the road heading south, I want to be on the south side of the road heading north. That's just my personality. And a personality like that is well suited for a democracy, not so much for a totalitarian fascist dictatorship. At least that's my thought, and that's why I turned my back on the opportunity to go there and make tennis shoes and get rich. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're here.
Well, at least you're, you didn't go there. You make the honest decision, not like some of the people, they're not really honest.
Yeah, but they're rich.
Like the guy, like Warren Buffett, he, during his, this year's, Berkshire meeting, he openly criticized the tariffs. I mean, he and Charlie Munger make tremendous amount of money by investing in China's electrical car business.
Absolutely,
BYD,
they
right?
bought BYD.
Yeah. If they're worried about, they're truly worried about the fair trade, the fairness of the trade. He should have sent a letter to Xi Jinping 10 years ago.
Yeah. Well,
Now,
they were.
He was seeing China taking advantage from the United States. He said nothing. So now all of a sudden, the U.S. government want to increase the tariffs on China. He said, "Oh, it's not good."
That's my money you're messing with. Yeah,
I think that's hypocritical.
There you go. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this hour, the second hour, we're going to open up the phone lines, which means we invite you to participate. The big question we have on the table for the second hour is, what impact will Donald Trump's military exercise to take out Iran's nuclear bomb-making factories have on the Middle East and on Asia and on the world? It was a masterful stroke of military precision, and what is the name of the desk in the White House, in the president's office? I think they call it the Resolute desk. It was a resolute decision. So what impact is that going to have? And we'd love to hear what you have to say. All you have to do is pick up your phone today and call 831-265-5050, 831-265-5050. And you can ask your question, make your comments, and we'd love to hear what you have to say and what you have to think, because maybe it will give us something to think about and contend with and make the show much more interesting. So we'll start off with a story from the Epoch Times. U.S. strikes on Iran send message to Beijing. I guess so.
Of course, Iran is one of the closest ally of Beijing's leaders. Xi Jinping's close friend. Now, in fact, it was just like 2 days ago, Iranian Secretary of Defense went to Qingdao in China, met with Chinese Secretary of Defense.
Yes. I
bet he didn't get anything.
Well, there was two articles in the Epoch Times that really caught my attention, because they really demonstrate the depth of the relationship between China and Iran after the revolution in Iran in 1979 through today. They've been very, very close And if, in fact, I think it looks like China really did lay the foundation and provide the technology for making the nuclear bomb in Iran.
Oh yeah, of course. And then China actually signed a big economic agreement with Iran back in believe it's
1990.
late March of 2021.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, late March of 2021, and China were in the agreement. China agreed to provide $400 billion worth of U.S. dollar. Okay, $400 billion
Wait,
U.S.
wait a minute. Where did they get the money?
Well, 2021, China is at the peak.
Right, right.
Remember?
So who's giving them all the American dollars?
China.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Where
well,
did China get all those
it's a
American
four
dollars?
hundred dollar worth, not that really 400 $400 billion worth, not really 400 billion US dollars. Right? It's a $400 billion worth of economic aid to Iran in exchange of 25 years of it's the $400 billion. It's like it will be provided to Iranian regime for during the 25 years of time, and in exchange of Iranian oil,
Oil. Hmm.
right? But that's why China ended up, because it's Iranian regime has been sanctioned by pretty much most of the government in the world, and China it's buying 90% of Iranian
90%.
oil.
Yeah.
By those shipping, those ghost ships, right? They go like right, those ships, they're ghosting around the world. Those are the ships they transport oil from Iran to China.
Now, one of the things that I saw in the coverage of Trump's incursion into Iran was the fact that China and Iran were just in the process of opening up a road from Iran into China.
Oh, that's been in the discussion for a long time. I don't think it's going to happen
Well,
anymore.
they were, from what I heard in the report, it was supposed to open the day after Trump dropped the bombs, and they did not open it for fear of what might be going on at the
Right.
time.
Because they have been talking about this energy corridor that will connect the Iran and China uh, ever since I think 2007, 2008. I mean, they've been talking about, and then there have been China has been doing a lot of preparation in the receiving end, the northern on the western part of China, because between China and Iran, there's two countries, right? On the north, it's Afghanistan. On the south, that's Pakistan. And the original plan was, when they make that plan, to build energy corridor to connect Iran, to have Iran's oil go to China. That was through Pakistan, because
Oh,
Afghanistan at that time is not controlled by Taliban yet, right?
right.
And then after the fall of Afghanistan government, after the U.S. troops left Afghanistan in 2021, so Afghanistan also became available as a part of the energy corridor. Now, they have been talking about that for a long time, and China it's been really invest tremendous amount of money in the western part of China, building highways, bridges,
Dams
railroads.
and
So they will be ready when the oil come from Iran.
right.
So now I don't think the both countries don't have money anymore to do that.
Yeah.
I don't know
Now,
if they have money. No, I don't think so.
in just thinking about this, back in World War II, when the United States was trying to send military equipment to the Guomindang in China, the Japanese had all of the sea routes blocked off. So the only way we could get equipment into China was to fly over the
The Fly
Himalayas.
Tiger.
Yes. So we had to fly all the way over the top of those incredible mountains and down into China to get them the goods. And in thinking about that, I'm wondering where the heck this road is. Does it go over the top of the Himalayas?
No, it doesn't have to, right? They can find I don't think that you need to go through the top. You know, you can find some place that with lower, you know, not some hillside, maybe some mountains that's not really high and big. You can
Right.
just dig a hole through it. You know, they have done, you know, all these people. You know what, the CCP is being very good at digging holes. You know, you look at Hamas and you look at Iranian nuclear facilities, that they learn all
Yeah.
that thing from China, you know, Chinese military, all this militia force during World War II between China and Japan. That's how they survived. You know, they learn all those technique.
That's right. They
Uh,
lived in caves, right? Or at least
yeah.
Maoist people
So
did.
they're very good at doing all
Yeah.
that thing.
So, but a big impact, at any rate. There was a piece in the Epoch Times, and this is a quote from retired U.S. Navy Captain Stu Cyrk. I think that's how you read, or Cyrk, C-Y-R-K. In an op-ed for the Epoch Times, he said, the CCP's long-term interests were damaged by the conflict, which is to say Israeli and American planes. He noted that the Chinese regime's extensive investments in Iran, including its early aid to Tehran's nuclear program and its massive consumption of Iranian oil, are at risk now. So that's a big deal for the CCP. In previous months, Trump had earned a reputation as a businessman unwilling to involve the United States in military conflict, but now it's clear that these dictators can't predict his moves, so they're genuinely afraid of him. He said Trump acts decisively. If he says he'll strike, he won't hesitate, as we learned. He added that Trump's willingness to aid Israel raises the possibility that his administration might not stand idle if the Chinese regime attempts to take Taiwan by force. If Beijing were to start a war in the Taiwan Strait, the United States could provide Taiwan with a decapitation strike weapons, he said, noting that the CCP officials fear decapitation strikes the most. What's a decapitation strike?
Well, actually, I don't know how to explain that. But I think B2, you know, those 30,000 pounds may land, you know, to China somewhere, you know, I don't know if it's going to be Beijing or somewhere else, you know,
Well, what I think they
if they
mean by
dare, if they want to invade Taiwan, maybe they, maybe Trump will send the 30,000 pound bomb to Beijing, you know, the Beijing's leaders compound.
well, what Zirk said was very interesting because when he talks about a decapitation strike, what that means essentially is that you're taking off the head of the enemy, which is the
Yeah,
leadership.
yeah.
So if there's anything the Chinese leadership is afraid of, it's getting a decapitation strike on them. And okay, they could put a couple 100 million people out there in front of them and let them get killed, but the leadership is afraid of what might happen to them. The hell with the people. Got a lot of
Well, so
those.
next time Trump is going to say, "Hey, Xi Jinping, I know where you hide," just like what he said to Khamenei.
Well, that's a huge strategic change because we have for the past 20 years or so, ever since Ronald Reagan, we've had leadership in the White House who's been very squishy and mushy. The CCP could do what pretty much ever they wanted, and nobody was doing anything about it. And in steps this this crazy guy, Donald Trump, and he says you can't have a nuke. Oh, sure. Or you have to stop sending fentanyl.
Well,
Oh,
he has been saying
sure.
that since 2011, right? About these regime guys, they're thinking, well, U.S. talk about that when North Korea was in process to get their nukes. Um, U.S. government didn't stop Kim Jong Un of getting the nukes, right? So they are thinking maybe, Iranian leaders can do the same thing, but they didn't realize, North Korea and Iran are totally different. They are totally different.
In what respect, Nansu? Because to me, um, they're both totalitarian fascists run by rigid dictators. So what? I mean, one's a religious one, and one is a atheist one. But other than that, what's the difference between the two?
Well, there is a rules, right? You have a certain rules you play in the game. The rule is mutual MAD, mutual assured
Destruction.
destruction, right?
Yeah.
So now you look at Kim Jong Un. Kim Jong Un is having a tremendous good life. His life is better than most of the people in the world. He's living like a king, right? He's a
Yes.
part of the rule. He joined. If Kim Jong Un's regime joining the game, he still play the rule, mutual destruction. He doesn't want to destroy his own good life. He want to pass his power to his relatives or maybe his children, right?
Right. His
But
daughters.
all these jihad guy, they don't play by that rule. He's going to die with you together, and so for him to go to heaven.
Right.
So they don't play by that rule. The MAD doesn't apply to them. That's why I don't think I think Trump realized that they can't. He cannot let these guys have nukes.
Well, absolutely. And I think everybody in the world is grateful except for maybe China. So why isn't
Well,
China?
in the way, I mean, I think the way China and Russia, they're playing the fire actually. They're playing fire because now because the China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran, they have the common enemies. That's why they come together. But if they don't have this common enemy, United States, what do they do?
Right.
I think the Iranian, all this jihad group, it's going to go after them, right? Go after this atheist regime.
You know what
But
what you said about having a common enemy rings true because I've been thinking about that with respect to Iran. What does Iran have to offer its citizenry other than the fact that we all get together and hate Israel and the United States? And that's the glue that seems to hold
Well, I think
Iran
that their
together.
common enemy is actually only the United States. Israel used to be not a part of the calculation because China actually had a pretty good CCP had a good has been enjoying the pretty good relation with Israel for decades, and all tremendous amount of CCP's military advantage technology was actually from Israel, including their fourth generation a fighter jet technology, and then their drones, their missiles, all got from tremendous amount of them. They got them. I think they probably got more military technology from Israel than from Russia. Now, but however, I think that relationship is broken now because this time China didn't really, criticize Iranian, and they try to stop Israel from making the attack to protect himself. So I think that, but however, for decades, Israeli, they have been in the wishful dreams on their relation with the CCP.
Well, and Shirk says here in the Epoch Times piece that China has been one of the few countries to side with Iran by publicly condemning Israel's strikes on Iranian nuclear sites and military targets.
That's right. So that's why I say that relation it's broken now. But before this, before Israeli military attacked Iran, I think they have in good relationship for many years, maybe
Yes, they did.
decades.
Well, and I think that Iranian proxies like Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis have captured the world's attention with their atrocities and their single-mindedness of doesn't matter what you're saying, we're going to come and get you. We're going to send rockets right into your kindergartens, and what they demonstrated on October 7th was an absolute terror, and and Iran was backed by China. Now, how do
No,
you?
every terrorist group in the world, it's backed by China. It's backed by CCP. I mean, all these terrorist group, Hezbollah, Houthis, ISIS, Syrian, government, or Libyan government, or Taliban, they all send their military officials to China to receive military training all these years.
And they did.
Yeah,
And it's not just um, these terrorist proxies of Iran and whatnot. It's also Iran itself, and it's
yeah.
also Russia. So China is like the center of gravity for all of this madness that's going on.
Yeah, and then now, see, we are the Americans, we are the ones we have been in our wishful thinking, thinking maybe tomorrow we wake up in the morning, the CCP will change, become a part of a democratic world. And now look at what they're doing. They limit the rare earth export to United States, and I also I learned. I think I just read the news somewhere that they just talk about. Actually, it started from September of last year. China start banning the export of all the key drone technology. Uh,
Oh,
yeah, drone technology, because China it's got a they are very much advanced in in drone technology, and also they banned the engineer uh, on the rare earth industry to leave China to go to other countries, something like that.
okay. So
So
they're tightening down on all of their strategic initiatives that they have an advantage in, which
that's
is
it.
yeah, for
That's
sure.
it.
Well, of course they would, because in wartime, you have to protect yourself with everything you can.
Yeah, and then I don't know how long it's going to take. I think President Trump should have something like a Operation War Speed or something, to really solve these rare earth issues. Otherwise, we're going to be in a lot of trouble.
Well, I saw a great article on that, and it was the writer, the interviewer, was speaking with a representative of the rare earth people, and they're saying, "Look, China has this incredible head start, and China's industry got its head start because it's a government-funded industry, and the CCP funded this development. And if America wants to catch up, you're going to have to figure out how to fund the development of this business somehow."
Well, I think the first thing first is to get rid of those environmental regulations. So so people, you have to allow the corporations to make money out of this business. Otherwise, nobody is going to invest in this business.
Well, in that regard, do you think it's possible that when the CCP was developing its rare earth industries, that it was also somehow supporting the green energy movement and the
No, no, no.
environmental
Rare
movement?
earth it's different, right? Rare earth is different. Rare earth it's a dirty industry.
Yeah,
You
you
know,
dig in
you have
holes.
to get your hands dirty.
Yeah.
But you don't get your hands dirty. You don't get it, right? It's like I don't think those green people actually realize that we are our economic all these environmental restrictions will actually put the United States in a much weaker position in our defense industry.
Well, and that's why I was asking the question. Do you think that as the CCP was developing its rare earth industries, it was sinking in its councils? Why don't we support the environmental movement in the United States so that the United States can't dig up their rare earths? I mean, that's how I would think if I was
But that's just because these people are really hypocritical.
yeah,
They say they want to save the earth, but it doesn't, right?
yeah.
You gotta worst the people, that you gotta people who the worst people possible who really thinking about this so-called environmental protection. You let them pollute the whole world instead of if you do it here in the United States, you probably can do it in a much cleaner way to and also we have the technology now that unfortunately we were so much into trouble, more than what 30 years investing in China's rare earth industry. Now we don't know how to do it anymore, and especially so those refining part of that rare earths. Uh, more than 90% of the rare earths are processed in China. Even though you can find the rare earths somewhere else outside of China, you still have to send them to China for processing, for refining. That's what's choking us.
Yes, and it was we were giving it all to China because we were, as you suggest, in panda love. We were smitten with the thought that we were going to wake up and China was going to be just like us, and we'd all live happily ever after. But you know who sent the pandas to us? You know which Chinese leader did that?
Deng Xiaoping,
Nope, Zhou
Jimmy,
Enlai.
Chou Enlai.
Zhou Enlai. Now, when I was, studying Chinese language and whatnot, and history and culture, blah blah blah, I really came to like Zhou Enlai because he seemed to be the sensible one, where Mao Zedong was the crazy guy coming up with all of these whack ideas, and Zhou Enlai was kind of the the keel of the boat, somebody keep it going. And so I was always an admirer of Zhou Enlai, and so in the
He's
current in
Mao's second man.
second man, yeah, in the current Xi Jinping era, my idea of the Zhou Enlai counterpart was Li Kai-cheng.
I
So,
don't think you can find the second man in the Xi Jinping era. Now,
well,
Mao and Xi have a tremendous similarity, but also this is the part you can find the similarity between these two. See, Chairman Mao, he is a dictator. He is a lifelong dictator in China. But the way he did it, he controlled the CCP regime in China. He let all the same generation people of his own, though all these old people, old officials, to stay in power. That's the way he did it. But Xi Jinping came in, he totally changed the game. On one hand, he going back to Chairman Mao's
Yeah, he's the
ideology.
Chairman Mao of the modern era. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's more Chairman Mao modern era, but also power wise, he didn't keep any of the officials in his own generation, age wise, in power. So he's like a quick. He quickly replaced them. So as the result, everyone else in power in Beijing, all these other leaders, much younger, or at least 7 or 5, 7, 8 years younger. So all of them, he only allowed them to serve one term and
Right.
just let it, or 1 or 2 terms, maximum 2 terms, and replace them. So that's how he is different than Chairman Mao. Chairman Mao, he's old, but everybody else is old too, and he allowed factions, different factions, which is doesn't make some of the factions doesn't necessary as a part of the factions.
Sure.
Chairman Mao as considered as his own people, but Xi Jinping, he replaced everyone else, and everyone besides him, he's the only one in his third term, but everybody else is like either first term or second term. That's it.
Sure.
They're going to be replaced. So that's the difference
Okay.
between
Well, let
Xi
me
and
let
Mao.
me let me describe what I see as the similarities. Okay. In Mao's time, he was the boss, and he ran around making all of these crazy decisions to do these crazy things. Well, let's have us a great leap forward. And okay, everybody says yes, sir. But Cho En-lai, as his number two, or his buddy, or his friend, or all of the above, was always the one who seemed to be there trying to talk him into some common sense. And that was his role there. Now, Xi Jinping is today's version of Chairman Mao, running around making all of these crazy decisions that end up with China in the dump. And the only person that really stood up to him that I've been able to see is Li Kai-cheng, his former premier. And I remember Li Kai-cheng doing a conference call with every communist official in China and talking to them about how we have to turn our economy loose for the people so that they can make some money and be happy. Because nobody in China except the CCP run businesses are
You
making
don't
any
have
money.
that Li Keqiang anymore, right? Because
Well,
that
exactly,
yeah, he
exactly.
only served one term.
And what
He
happened
only
to him?
Yeah,
He got
yeah.
heart attacked.
Right, right. Well, it's how he died is still a bizarre, right?
Yeah,
Now, mystery. Now, when Chairman Mao, was in power, he has actually several guys, in his regime, like the national chairman, Liu Shaoqi, Chairman
right.
Liu, right? It's similar to Zhou Enlai, and then you also have Deng Xiaoping. Deng Xiaoping at that time, it's the party secretary general. Chairman Mao was the party chairman. So no, they no longer have the party chairman that position, but during Chairman Mao era, there was Chairman Mao was the party chairman, right? Right, and Liu was the national, the government chairman, and then Deng Xiaoping was the party secretary general. And now Chairman Mao is the only one crazy, and then he want the power all in his own hands. So that's how he, after he fail the Great Leap Forward movement, he started a cultural revolution, is to take the power from Deng Xiaoping and Chairman Liu, right? And he actually took all this power back, and then and Zhou Enlai was helping him on that.
Yeah.
So Zhou Enlai was the second man of Chairman Mao, and but now Xi Jinping changed the tactic. He's like you can't have anybody in his own generation to keep stay in the office. So he quickly replaced them. Everybody else just one term, maybe two terms, and then you're gone.
You're
So
gone.
that's the way. He's the only one continue to grab the power. So he's the only one able to keep his own power. Everyone else was handpicked by him right now. So basically, that's what the situation is.
Well, okay, we're going to take a quick break, pay the bills. When we come back, Nansu and I will take on the big question, which is what impact will President Donald J. Trump's bombing of Iran's nuclear facility have on the body politic of the Western Pacific? Do stay tuned. We will be right back.
Save money on airfare to anywhere. Low Cost Air is the discount supermarket for all domestic and foreign airlines. A funny thing is going to happen when you call Low Cost Air. You're going to talk to a human being within 60 seconds. Save money on airfare to anywhere. Call Low Cost Air to compare at 800-704-1662. 800-704-1662.
You need a clean, pleasant space to conduct business, but you don't want the burden of a long, expensive lease. Your solution is Satellite Co-working and Digital Media Studio on Soquel Avenue. Satellite offers private offices, meeting and conference rooms, even co-working by the hour, day, week, or month. Schedule a tour at satellitecoworking.com. Mention Santa Cruz Voice for 20% off your first reservation.
Do you have a car sitting around you want to get rid of? Donate your car and help veterans and their families. Yes, one fast call to the Veteran Car Donation Program and we'll come and remove your car for free. You can donate most cars, trucks, or SUVs in most conditions. The proceeds raised goes to help active military, veterans, and their families. And you get a tax deduction. Operators are standing by. Here's the number.
800-640-9509. Again, that's 800-640-9509.
Treehouse dispenses not only the finest cannabis products, but information to those who want to know how to use cannabis for maximum benefit. Hello, I'm Jenna. If you would like to know how best to use cannabis, ask your friends and neighbors at Treehouse Dispensary, 3651 Soquel Drive. If you're 21 plus with a valid ID, no appointment is necessary and the information is free. Order online at ourtreehouse.io and pick up at our drive-thru. See you soon.
Zhongguo Xincai, China Now. Welcome back. We have a few minutes left. Take on the big question. Now with Nansu, Michael Olson, and you. You can jump on and give us a hoot at 831-265-5050. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump bombed Iran's nuclear bomb factory. That's really what it was. The Chinese regime has been the largest buyer of Iranian oil, buying 90% of it. And any disruption in the flow of these exports through any means possible would have a real negative impact on China's economy, which is having a lot of negative impacts as we speak. So that's a big deal for the Chinese Communist Party. So, and China's in a lot of trouble when it gets right down to it, as I said. There's not much money coming in from places like the United States anymore. So it's in a very, very tight situation. So with the bombing of Iran's nuclear facilities, which the CCP has been helping them build since 1979. Was half a century. China has been pouring money and technology and equipment into building Iran's nuclear capabilities. So Donald Trump dropped a bomb right down the ventilator shaft of that effort. And all indications are wiped it out. So
and if it, well, say this, if it's not yet been wiped out, it could be wiped out any moment.
at any moment.
Yes,
And
yes.
that's the realization that's now a part of the body politic throughout the Asian area, throughout the entire world. So if you get really kooky, who knows what might fall down your ventilation shaft? Boom, there you go. So Nancy, what impact do you think this will have on Xi Jinping, on the Politburo, and on the Chinese people?
Well, CCP has been, making all kind of different propagandas, right? Everything they report, they take it from the state-owned media of Iran. So, Khamenei just claimed victory against
Right.
Israel.
We won.
So, so China, it's all the propaganda from China's state media. It's doing the same thing, right? So I don't know how it's going, but I think there's a lot of Chinese people who still know. But of course, they have to make effort to get out of China's firewall, the state-owned firewall, to read the true news. Now, I was saying there are at least the two things is going to make the impact. Number one, all these small countries like Southeast Asian countries,
Vietnam, Cambodia.
Vietnam, they're kind of like doing the flip-flop between United States and China. They're going to look at this. They're going to it's going to make the impact. They will think about twice how close they need to be with the CCP regime, right? And number two, I would say if the negotiation between U.S. government and Iran, goes, if they actually can come to certain agreements, say, because Trump say, hey, you guys are Persian people, for generations, you guys very good merchants, right? That's what Trump said. So if
Yes.
that's what Trump said.
You got some pecans.
Yeah.
Some cashews and all kinds of good things we can use.
Right. Look at those. Think about that story. What was the story? The 1001 night.
Yes.
There was a lot of a Persian in that story, right?
Well, the Persian people have always throughout history been artists and merchants and lovers of culture and traders and
yeah. So that's what
they
Trump
become
said, right?
prisoners.
So if U.S. and Iran able to come to the agreement and say Iran just stop its nuclear weapon program, and the U.S. government lift the sanction against Iran, then one thing I'm sure it's China will not be able to get cheap oil from Iran anymore, right?
It would cost more.
Yeah,
It
because
would
it's
cost
going
more.
to be an international market price instead of now they're getting a good discount for the price. I think that that's one thing China is not going to like, and also of course in the Middle East, uh, Russia and China, both of them will have much less influence to the Middle East. So now you have Turkey. It's on our side. It used to be Turkey and Iran both support Hamas. So Hamas is gone now. Trump,
Syria is free.
Syria is free, and when Trump visit Saudi in May, actually, Saudi prince and Turkey president, both of them recommend Trump to meet with Syria interim president, and Trump did. So that basically, bring Turkey, Syria, as well as Saudi in a much closer relation with United States versus China and Iran. So now if Iran say okay, they're going to go different route than what than the current direction they're going, then I think China will lose a lot of influence to the Middle East.
There's one problem um, that prevents hope from reigning supreme throughout the world. And I look at Iran, and what would that be? What would it take to turn those beautiful Persian people loose and allow them to do what they've always done throughout the centuries, which is everything beautiful? It's the one thing is the totalitarian fascist regime of the Muslim dictatorship. And if you look at China, what is the one thing that prevents the Chinese people from doing what Chinese people have always done, which is business? It's the Chinese Communist Party. And North Korea, it's the fascist regime of Kim Jong-un. So people are essential of those countries are essentially prisoners, and will always
What are you
be.
saying? I'm not. I don't follow you. What are you trying to say?
What I'm trying to say is what you've always been trying to say to me, is that there's really no hope for the people of China as long as the CCP has them in handcuffs, in jail. China is not a country. I think China is a maximum security prison.
Same as Iran.
Same as Iran, same as North Korea. And it's the warden and his guards that are the problem in all of these countries. And the system that they enforce to keep people from enjoying their lives and exploring their businesses and developing business. You look at what Xi
So
Jinping.
what are you trying to say? What's the Trump impact on that?
I don't know. Here's an example.
I think it's good. Where the Trump currently try to negotiate with the Iranian regime.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's a wonderful move for Iranian people and society. See, we cannot go there to just send the U.S. troop there to destroy the regime. It doesn't. I don't think we should make that choice for Iranian people.
No,
I think
the
Iranian
Iranian
people need
people
to
have
make
to
that.
make it for themselves.
Yeah, have to
Absolutely.
make it for themselves, and same as for Chinese people.
Yeah.
Chinese people and society need to make that decision themselves. But if you keep current war fair going, people won't be able to make that decision because everybody is just trying to avoid being bombed.
Yeah.
So you have to give them a different choice. What Trump put on the see, you have to have the two different opportunities, two different kind of choice put on the table. Then you're going to see the different opinions coming out in Iran.
Yes.
You're going to see the people have a way say, I don't agree because we have another choice. I think that the Iranian is a little bit different than the situation in China because Iranian, the statistics showing Iranian society because they used to enjoy the uh, secular government, right? Before the Islamic Revolution in 1979. Before that, they used to have that secular government. So now they under the rule of Islamic extremist government. There is tremendous amount of unhappiness inside Iran. You need to give them an opportunity and pass, which is different um, than the current regime. So that they're going that it's going to create cracks from inside.
Right. Very good. Very.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
speaking of
You don't have a second choice. There's no way they're
yeah,
going to crack.
speaking of cracks, one of the most interesting things that I heard about Israelis' attacks on Tehran was at the prison where the Ayatollah keeps all of his political prisoners, a huge, giant prison. And what the Israelis did is they flew jets right into it and they blew up the gate as if to signal the Iranian people that we're here for them.
Yep, yep.
That I
I
thought
think that's
was,
all good. I think that's all good, but you have to also have to allow the people to have a moment to make their own choice. I think the
it's the only
negotiation
way. Yeah.
is the only way, right? They have to make the if they all lay down flat, then nothing going to happen. Then that's their own choice for their own future.
Yeah. And it's a real sad one too. I think of I guess it was during Barack Obama's presidency, the people of Tehran rose up, million people on the street, and we gave them absolutely no support at all. And that was really sad. When it gets right down to it, I thought. Well, I don't know. So where do you think this is going to take us? The Trump seems very satisfied. We'd love to negotiate with Iran. We'd love for them to join the Abraham Accords, but we're not in a hurry anymore.
I'm not sure if they're going to join the Abraham.
Well, they probably don't have that in their thoughts right now. That's for sure.
But the option, to give the option, put that option on the table, clearly gave a different choice for the people living in Iran. So maybe that will create some cracks from inside.
Yeah. Well, as long as they control the religion, which is what the Iranian regime does.
That's what we're going to see, right? If what's the choice for the Iranian people? Do they still want to make
their choice?
Stick with the religious extremist government, or they want a more secular type of government? Do they want it? They actually have the old.
Well, at any rate, we'll have to wait and see because
Yeah.
we are out of time on China Now for this week. But we will be back next week. And who knows what's going to happen this coming week that will provide us for our food for next week. This has been China Now with Nan Su, Michael Olson, and you. Thank you so much for tuning in. We love your presence. This is, and have a great week. Bye-bye.